Most people think waiting means nothing is happening. I used to believe that too, until life slowly showed me something different. My name is Abdul Rahman, and I am 104 years old. I have lived long enough to see prayers answered, dreams delayed, and sometimes both happening in ways I never expected. When I was a young man, waiting felt like punishment. I remember being 23, standing outside a small shop in my village, hoping the owner would give me work. My father had passed away not long before that, and suddenly the responsibility of the house had fallen on my shoulders. My mother, two younger sisters, and a small brother who still slept with a blanket wrapped around his head like a child hiding from the world. I prayed every night in those days. I asked Allah for work, for ease, for something to change. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The shop owner kept saying, "Come back tomorrow." Tomorrow kept moving further away. At that age, I thought Allah was ignoring me. One evening, I sat outside our small home, watching the sun disappear behind the fields. My mother came and sat beside me. She didn't ask many questions because mothers often understand things without words. I remember telling her, "I pray every day, but nothing is happening." She looked at me quietly and said something I did not understand at the time. She said, "When Allah makes you wait, it is not because He is forgetting you. It is because He is preparing something you cannot yet see." At the time, those words felt like comfort, but they did not remove the worry in my chest. I still woke up every morning with the same question: why is nothing changing? A few months later, the shop owner finally hired someone else. I remember walking home that day feeling embarrassed, almost angry. I had waited so long for that opportunity, and it disappeared like smoke. But life has a strange way of showing you the meaning of delays. Not long after that, a farmer in a nearby town needed someone to help manage his land. I almost didn't go when someone told me about it. I was tired of hoping, but my mother insisted I try. That small job slowly changed everything. I learned how to manage crops, how to deal with traders, how to keep records. Years later, that same farmer trusted me enough to give me a partnership in the land. Eventually, I owned a small portion myself. Now, when I look back, I realize something that younger me could never understand. If the shop owner had hired me that first day, I would have spent my entire life standing behind a wooden counter selling small items to passing customers. There is nothing wrong with that life, but it was not the life Allah had written for me. The waiting I hated so much was quietly redirecting my path. And I saw this pattern again and again in my long life. When I was 35, I wanted to marry a woman from a nearby town. I believed with all my heart that she was meant for me, but her family refused. At that time, it felt like a door had slammed shut directly in my face. 2 years later, I married someone else, a quiet woman with gentle patience. She stood beside me through every difficulty life brought. She raised our children with kindness and strength. She sat next to me through long nights when our youngest son was sick, and she never once complained about the life we were building slowly. Sometimes I think about that earlier rejection, and I smile softly to myself. Because if that door had opened, I might never have met the woman who walked beside me for more than 60 years. You see, when you are young, you believe every delay is a loss. Every unanswered prayer feels like a closed door. You stand there staring at it, wondering why Allah is not listening. But time does something interesting. It connects the moments you could not understand before. At 50, I lost a business deal that I thought would secure my future. At 60, I survived an illness that doctors thought would take my life. At 75, I buried friends who once laughed beside me as young men. Each time something did not happen when I wanted it to, I felt the same confusion. But each time, years later, the meaning became clearer. Allah does not measure time the way we do. We count days, we count months. We look at our watch and feel impatient when something takes too long. But Allah sees the entire road from beginning to end. Sometimes what you are asking for today would harm you tomorrow. Sometimes what you think is the right door is actually leading you somewhere smaller than what was written for you. Waiting is not empty time. Waiting is the quiet place where your life is being rearranged. I learned this slowly over decades, through mistakes, through disappointment, through moments where I felt like, and yet nothing was moving at all, when my beard had turned completely white and my hands had grown thin and quiet, I could finally see something beautiful in all those years of waiting. Every delay was shaping me. Every unanswered prayer was guiding me somewhere else. And every moment I thought Allah was silent, He was actually protecting me from something I did not understand. Now, when younger people come to visit me, they often bring the same worry in their eyes. They tell me about a job that hasn't come yet, a marriage that hasn't happened, a dream that seems stuck somewhere far away. I listen carefully because I remember that feeling very well, and then I tell them something that took me 100 years to truly understand. If Allah is making you wait, it does not mean your prayer is lost. It means your story is still being written. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters come after the longest pauses. So if you are in that place right now where you feel like nothing is moving and your heart is tired from hoping, I want you to remember something from an old man who has watched a very long life unfold. The waiting you hate today may be the reason you smile tomorrow. And one day, when your hair begins to turn gray and you sit quietly remembering the road behind you, you might look back at this exact moment and realize that Allah was not delaying your life. He was guiding it step by step in a way that only He could see.